This is a Fox News alert. We have just heard from the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. He tweeted this, quote, "Our communication around our actions on the New York Post article was not great, and blocking URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context as to why we're blocking, unacceptable." Huh. Writes like a child. Manages the company like one, too. By the way, the Biden campaign is able to call the story, quote, discredited, because big tech is trying to discredit it. No reporter has taken a look at the story and concluded, oh, sure, this is a Russian fabrication. Putin did this. That's ridiculous. So the Biden campaign is using big tech as a pretext for not responding. And big tech, of course, is trying to prevent you from reading it at all. Where does this go from here? If Biden is elected, you really think that the big tech companies are going to stop doing the bidding of their masters in Washington? Not a chance. You think big tech is going to suddenly think, oh, you're allowed to think for yourself? No. Last night in the show, we questioned whether masks are really effective at the transmission of the coronavirus, for example. And as we did that, we cited data directly from the CDC. We pulled it off their website, as well as other scientific sources. Science Magazine, for example. One study found that more than 70% of patients who contracted the coronavirus said they had always worn a mask. Another 14% said they usually did. We told you that last night. We posted that segment on Facebook. Today we learned that Facebook is calling our reporting, quote, partly false. We quoted the CDC. They restricted the distribution of the post to prevent people from seeing it. Again, we can't say this enough. The data that we put on television last night were from the Centers for Disease Control. We used their numbers. We didn't make them up, but Facebook censored it. Where's this going exactly? Sagar Enjeti is an opinion host at The Hill. We're happy to have him tonight. Sagar, thanks for joining us. Where is this going?
Thanks, Tucker. Tucker, I mean, this is a great moment in American history. This is actually a declaration of war by the big tech companies in this particular case. We need to understand this for what it is. This is an in-kind donation in the hundreds of millions of dollars to the Joe Biden campaign. These are rules that are flatly false on their face. Think about the material that you laid out. Hacked material is not to be distributed on Twitter. Does that mean that Edward Snowden's account is going to be locked immediately? Does that mean that the Pentagon Papers could not be published? Does that mean that FBI, COINTELPRO? Let's even think about this. They said that Twitter said that they could not distribute the story because they couldn't verify the origins. So does that mean that every single story based upon anonymous sources out of our government is going to be locked and banned from Twitter or slowed down, as they put it, from Facebook? No. These rules are selectively enforced in a political manner by the most powerful people and the most powerful companies on earth. All of your viewers need to understand that.
So our viewers should also understand that it's not simply Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter are the primary means of revenue for almost all digital media. We happen to work in one of the rare media that's not dependent on, which is why we can have this conversation. But if Biden wins, does this get better? I mean, why would the tech companies stop doing the bidding of the Democratic Party if the Democratic Party had more power?
Well, it's hard to see how it gets better when Kamala Harris's press secretary is the chief of communications over at Twitter, or how the person who announces on Facebook that things are going to be slowed down on this Hunter Biden story is himself a former Democratic operative. Take a look at the big tech space, Tucker. The vice president of Amazon's, Amazon Communications, Jay Carney, the former White House press secretary before that, former chief aide to Joe Biden. Several of the people on his transition team are traced to the big tech companies. Look at where all of their money is going. This is a public record. Look at the public data of where all of their donations are going. Are they going to get better? Eric Schmidt, Google, Facebook, we all know they were never more powerful than they were under the Obama administration. Under a Joe Biden administration, it will be 10, maybe 15, 20 times what it was then.
Yeah, at some point soon we're going to do a show where we just read the names of all the Republicans, people you voted for or sent money to, who refused to lift a finger to save you from what you correctly describe as this grave moment in American history. You're absolutely right. Sagar Enjeti, great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.